Okay, pause YouTube. Okay, what's up YouTube? Welcome to week number 2 of PPL Season 5, where we are taking on the Golden State Weezings, coached by the gamedex. His channel link will be down below for you guys to go ahead and check out. Now, if you guys might have missed our week 1 battle, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. Unfortunately, we got really unlucky and we ended up losing to that. So that does suck. We're off 0-1 -2 to start off the season, which is really not that great. So we got to bounce back here, hopefully, because we don't want to start off 0-2. That would be even more terrible. Hopefully we don't have that tough of a route though here in season 5 of the PPL. So check out the game decks. If you guys want to skip right to the battle, you can go ahead and do so. So looking at the matchup here, Toxapex literally shuts down any type of setup offense that we want to bring to this matchup, which is really annoying. Terra Hydrapple is arguably the best Terra captain currently going in a draft league format. Terra Jolteon is also just really annoying because of how fast it is. I did see that in a couple mocks. Shout out to the front office homies and the mock homies for helping me for this week's game. Terra Blissey is a Pokemon. Funnily enough, I did see Blissey in some mocks. The Quilladin and Tarantula, and funnily enough, Enamorus. Those three are probably the 3 mons I don't expect to come to this matchup whatsoever. Cinderace offensively is really annoying. Even potentially like a bulky pivot set could be a nuisance with Court Change, Boots, and Will-O-Wisp. Manaphy could be bulky or offensive with Nasty Plot. Metagross and Crocodile also could be bulky or offensive depending on how he wants to run them. And then Weezing was something that was actually a giant nuisance in mocks that I completely overlooked. So I fully expect Weezing to come to this game. So let's take a look here at our first team member, which is going to be our team captain in Blackbeard, aka Darkrai. Yes, we are rocking Hypnosis Darkrai week 2 in mocks. This thing was an absolute menace. With the wide lens, we do get boosted Hypnosis, so I think if I did the math correctly, it goes from 60 base accuracy to 66 base accuracy, which I mean is still a little low, but if we miss one, we should hit the second one in theory, or we can just hit our first one and we go from there. Regardless though, the idea behind Darkrai is to try and get this in on a safe or free turn. I put something to sleep and then I can Nasty Plot, and at +2, Dark Pulse and Ice Beam absolutely murder everything. Next off, we have Choice Scarf Iron Crown, which is our main form of speed control in this matchup. Shout out to the homie Cypher for recommending this Choice Scarf variant mon, because if you look at his team, this outspeeds everything that would not be Scarf Cinderace, and I'm really iffy on whether or not he's going to bring Scarf Cinderace. And then from there, Stab, Psyshock, Volt Switch for momentum is really good. Terra Blast Water, also late game could potentially be really nice. If we don't Terra Iron Crown though, we can Terra our second Terra captain in Ogerpon. We are rocking U-turn 3 attacks with the Muscle Band. I was really flip-flopping between what item I wanted on Ogerpon, and the Muscle Band boosted damage was just really too good to pass up on. While Expert Belt might have been really nice, if we're not hitting something super effective, we're not getting that boosted damage. So Muscle Bound is just a really nice middle ground, I think. And speaking of a psychic coverage, we have a Psychic, Earth Power, Landorus with Stealth Rocks, just a bulky pivot here with Intimidate to be able to gain us momentum and get up rocks. Next off, we have offensive Cyclozar. Unfortunately, defensive Cyclozar failed us in week 1, so hopefully here offensive Cyclozar can do a lot better. But look at these moves and look at our opponent's team. We are hitting everything extremely hard. In Quick Attack, I was debating on whether or not I wanted this or Rapid Spin, but I really don't think hazards are going to be too annoying. His Spiker is Quilladin, which I really don't expect Quilladin to come, and if he brings Weezing, then we have our final mon in the form of Toxapex. We are running a bit of a speedy Toxapex. I think Hydrapple reaches 124 speed. So we got about 80 speed, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is really good, because if Toxapex outspeeds Hydrapple, that means even if it is like a sub or a Nasty Plot variant of Hydrapple, we're faster, we Toxic him, and then from there we can haze his boosts away, or we can just recover up and rack up toxic damage. Now obviously that is a little bit of a problem if it turns out to be something like Terra Poison or Terra Steel. I saw Terra Poison, I think, in one mock. But if it's not Terra Poison or Terra Steel, And then Toxicking Hydrapple is going to be really, really good for us in this match. So with that being said, let's jump into the battle. Okay, pasa YouTube, okay, what's up YouTube? Welcome to week number 2 of the PPL. So quick thing before the actual battle starts. Unfortunately, this is going to be post-commentated because I did live record this actual battle. As you can see here, this is like the live recording of me in the actual game. Unfortunately, the audio messed up and it sounded like a squeaking mouse throughout the entire video. So it sounded like beep, 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 beep. So I'm just gonna go ahead and post-com this. This was a very lengthy battle. It was a 43-minute live game, and I really wish I'd been able to live commentate it because some of my reactions I think were a little bit funny because a couple things did happen in this game that were a little unfortunate. So we're facing the gamedex. If you guys missed the team builder, his channel will be down below. We are rocking a nice offensive squad this time around against his very scary team. Some things he did not bring were the Wheezing and the Blissey. Those two not coming was a really good surprise for us. So going into this game, my game plan was to just lead Landorus because it pairs up really well against everything that Hugh could potentially want to lead with, and then I can go from there. So he ends up leading off with the Cinderace, which is actually not that bad because obviously Cinderace is typically physically offensive, and as you can see, we have Earth Power and Psychic. So if for some reason he does have the Will-O-Wisp and he turns out to be more of a bulky set, which I think I did see in one mock, it's not the worst thing ever. That means that this thing will not be hitting us as aggressively as it could possibly be. So that's good for us. And I was debating on whether or not I wanted to go either for Stealth Rocks or go for the U-turn. There was no real use for me going for the Earth Power because he either switches out and brings in the Crocodile, Manaphy, or the Hydrapple, or he stays in and he goes for the Will-O-Wisp, which I really think that was too risky on his end to want to go for. So I figured just U-turning was better for us as we do catch the incoming Hydrapple. As he ends up going for the U-turn, we can now bring in my Toxapex, and I'm really hoping he does not expect us to be faster and then he stays in and then we can catch him with the Toxic. Unfortunately though, he does make the safe switch into the Metagross, which makes a lot of sense just because Metagross can more or less always safely switch into Toxapex. We do have the Surf, but then again, it's also a Toxapex. It only has a base 53 special attack set, so it's not like we're going to be doing a lot of damage to the Metagross. And you're going to see that this Metagross actually ends up being a very big nuisance in this battle. So I'm going to switch out thinking that he's just going to go for his rocks or maybe go for an Earthquake, as he actually ends up going for the knockoff. Now this is not too bad because we should still be able to live an Ice Punch if he goes for it, and we are running some speed on this Lando T, so there is a shot that we outspeed his Metagross. So I can either go for the Earth Power, I can go for Rocks, or I can go for the U-turn. Unfortunately, none of the moves offensively coming from my Landorus will be able to knock out Metagross whatsoever. So if anything, I can go for the U-turn, get off a little bit of chip with the U-turn, and then go from there as he actually switches back into the Hydrapple. And now unfortunately this is where things become a little bit annoying, because if this cycle keeps up, I'm not gonna get anywhere. Hydrapple has Regenerator, Metagross comes in and it can just click offensive moves against my switch-ins to Hydrapple. So I decided to bring in my Darkrai, and if you saw the team builder, the idea behind this Darkrai is to go for Hypnosis, put something to sleep, Nasty Plot, and just start doing damage. So that's my game plan. This is a Terra Water Hydrapple. I was gonna say Hydreigon, sorry. Terra Water Hydrapple, which means I can put it to sleep, Nasty Plot, and then Dark Pulse more or less is free. Unfortunately though, I missed the incoming Crocodile. With the Wide Lens, Hypnosis goes from 60 to 60% accuracy, which is fine. So I missed the first one, I can go for another one and hit it, right? Scarf Crocodile, in my opinion, didn't make a lot of sense here. I thought that maybe it would be AV if anything. So I do expect to outspeed it. Unfortunately, I miss another Hypnosis as we do live the close combat though. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit tilted here. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for the Hypnosis again. We're faster than him. If we can put this to sleep, maybe we can Nasty Plot and just try to get some use out of Darkrai in this game. If we had hit that first Hypnosis, then we could have Nasty Plotted at +2. This thing puts in so much work as we miss a third Hypnosis. Thankfully though, he misses Scale Shot, so that's some justice, I guess, because as you're going to see here, he ends up leaving in his Crocodile on our Darkrai, and down goes the Crocodile from the Ice Beam because he dropped his Spadef with the close combat. So Darkrai got a kill. That's great, right? But it's nowhere near as much as what Darkrai could have done 66% of the time. But hey, you know what? Never lucky. But down goes the Crocodile, which is nice as he brings in the Cinderace. And this was very odd. Cinderace does not naturally outspeed Darkrai. So I'm thinking, all right, this has got to be Scarfed. As I bring in Iron Crown and then he crits us. So the bad luck continues, which is a little bit unfortunate. But now I got to keep in my mind, all right, Cinderace could definitely be Choice Scarf, which means he outspeeds my Iron Crown, which is Choice Scarf. And unfortunately, he also outspeeds my Ogerpon if that's the mon that we decide to Terra. Because both of my Terra captains here are really, really good depending on how the battle is going to go. So in comes the Hydrapple. This thing is still chilling at full HP and we're not really in a good spot. We are up 6-5, but Darkrai is at like 3% HP. My Iron Crown is at about 40%. And now my Toxapex just took an Earthquake on the switch in here. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe we should be faster than this. So there is a chance that I could go for either the Toxic, I could go for Surf, or I could try to double out expecting him to bring back in the Metagross. And that's actually what I'm going to do here is bring in Landorus, thinking that he's going to switch and not wanting to leave in Hydrapple. And because we switched out before him, this now confirms the fact that we are faster as Toxapex compared to his Hydrapple, because naturally Hydrapple outspeeds Toxapex, but we are running a lot of speed on our Toxapex just for the Hydrapple, which is really nice. So we catch the incoming Metagross, even though the Intimidate is not affecting it. It's not really the worst thing ever. What we can do is either go for the U-turn, we can go for Rocks, or go for the Earth Power. And I think I wanted to actually go for Earth Power here, but I ended up going for the Stealth Rocks as we catch the incoming Hydrapple. Rocks being up is really nice because if that Cinderace is Choice Scarfed, it is no longer going to be able to come in freely to outspeed the entirety of our squad, which is really important. Unfortunately, U-turn is not doing any damage to this Hydrapple because it's literally just regenning the damage off. We're only doing like 30-ish%. He's getting back 33% with the Regenerator, so he's sitting at full HP the entire time. So I bring in my Toxapex here. He goes for the Fickle Beam, and I think he did actually get the all-out Fickle Beam there. So that's only a 30% chance. That kind of bites, but it's okay because we are faster. So if anything, I still can potentially go for a recover here. And I was debating on whether or not I wanted to go for the recover or maybe I could go for Toxic, but he has been switching in Metagross on my Toxapex, so I'm thinking, okay, well maybe he brings in Metagross again, and then this time he'll try to get up his Rocks if he does have Rocks on the Metagross. So I can switch into my Ogerpon. He either goes for the Fickle Beam or he goes for the Earth Power if he did stay in with the Hydrapple, but we catch the incoming Metagross. And here I'm thinking, should I go for the Stomping Tantrum or should I go for U-turn just to try to keep up momentum for us? If anything, he might go ahead and go for Rocks here if he has them, or he can go for the knockoff again. Regardless though, I need to start weakening his team. The only thing that I've done to his squad was get rid of Crocodile. Everything else is still basically at full HP, which is not good for us in this game. In the long game, he will definitely be able to beat us 1v1. So I need to start making some type of progress, as it turns out that he has leftovers on the Metagross, and this is really, really annoying because this means that Metagross is going to be around a little bit longer than it should be. So I'm going to go for the U-turn with the Muscle Band, Stomping Tantrum, and U-turn are doing nice little bits of damage to the Metagross as I bring in my Landorus, expecting to tank any one hit. I don't think he's got the Ice Punch at this point, because if he did have Ice Punch, I'm pretty sure he would have gone for it, predicting my Landorus to come in on it. So here I'm kind of playing on the fact that he does not have the Ice Punch. So he's shown Knockoff and he's shown Stealth Rock. So I'm going to go for the U-turn once again. Luckily, because we have the Stealth Rocks up, we can get chip damage on the Hydrapple, finding out that it's not heavy duty boots, and we get a little bit of justice as we get a crit with that U-turn, which means this Hydrapple is not going to be able to switch out and get back up to too much HP without it switching back in and being punished. And I'm going to try my best to not allow it to just freely switch in and gain back HP recovery. So I U-turn into my Zyclosaur. We are life formed, we are mixed. I can absolutely smack anything on his squad with the double edge, and I'm kind of half expecting him to bring in the Metagross. Now I could go for double edge into the overheat on the Metagross, but if he's got bullet punch with the 2 life orb hits and the bullet punch damage, that is going to really weaken our Cyclozar, and I don't want that. So I am going to end up actually going for the U-turn here as he brings in the Manaphy. We do nothing to Manaphy whatsoever. We find out though that it's not boots, it's not helmet, and it's not leftovers. So I can U-turn here into my Ogerpon, and now we're kind of in an okay spot. We're slowly shifting momentum back into our favor, trying to put the pieces together on how exactly we can pull out the victory here. We have rocks up on their side. We have 6 Mons, they have rocks up on our side. Unfortunately, with rocks being up, Darkrai is more or less a sack at this point, so I need to be very careful with that as he brings in the Cinderace on our Ogerpon, which is really risky, honestly. I could have gone for the Stomping Tantrum potentially, or even just gone for the Ivy Cudgel with it being stabbed. Would have done more damage to the Cinderace, but it comes in, takes rocks damage, and we get a crit with the U-turn, which is a little bit handy because now this Cinderace only has 1 more stealth rock switching before it can get KO'd by rocks again. So it can come in, it's brought down to below 25%, and then from there it's not going to be able to switch out and switch back in to do anything. So I'm trying to debate on what exactly I want to do. I think I was checking the damage calc on whether or not Zen Headbutt would knock out Toxapex at this range, which luckily it did not. So now I can bring in Pex. Not only do we live a hit, but if he does want to reveal the Zen Headbutt, I'm like 97% sure that he is Choice Scarfed at this point. So he does go for the U-turn. I did check the calc here. He's not Bandied. He's not any type of boosting item. So I'm more certain that he's definitely Scarfed, and that's how I'm going to play the rest of this game as long as that Cinderace is around in this battle. So I surf the incoming Metagross, do a decent like little 10-15% maybe. Unfortunately though, I don't want to stay in here because I will probably drop to an Earthquake or a Zen Headbutt, or actually Psychic Fangs. I always forget that Metagross learns Psychic Fangs, but yeah, either way, I think that he's just going to go for the offensive move. And I figure that this is my best shot to get rid of Darkrai because this now allows me to get a safe switch in on this Metagross. It does gain back some lefties as it reveals to have the Heavy Slam. So it's Heavy Slam, knockoff, Stealth Rocks. I still don't know what that last move is, I'm pretty sure. So I figured that this is probably my best chance to go ahead and knock this out. The question is though, do I want to bring in Ogerpon? Do I want to bring in a Cyclozar or maybe bring in Landorus? But if I bring in Landorus, then I could risk him having the Bullet Punch and him putting me in range of where rocks will knock me out. So if anything, I could bring in Cyclozar here, and he just does not have a safe switch into offensive Life Orb Cyclozar. And with all the damage that we've gotten off on this Metagross, it is 100% in range of Overheat as long as we hit. I was really scared that if we went for Overheat here and we missed, then we lose Cyclozar to a Heavy Slam, and at that point the game might be over. Thankfully though, Foreign is really well trained and we're able to knock out the Metagross. That thing along with Hydrapple was such a nuisance, and now we only have to deal with Hydrapple. So we got off to a bad start with the Hypnosis misses. We were down, but we're slowly getting back into this as in comes a Terapagos. And he's leftovers, right? Is he left? Sorry, he's not boots. So now I'm thinking, what is he running? Is he choiced? Is he maybe like Resto Chesto? I don't know, but either way, I don't knock this out with any one hit. So I'm going to go for U-turn and just get off a little bit more damage and see what he's going to go for. I don't think he revealed leftovers. Spoilers, he turns out to be leftovers, but obviously. If he didn't show it, I don't know at this point. I'm just trying to go with what I saw on the screen. So I U-turn out here thinking, okay, if he's Specs, that's fine. If he's Scarf, that's fine. If he's like Resto Chesto, we can go from there. As he goes for the Rock Polish, and it turns out to be Leftovers. Now this is a little bad because I don't know what this thing wants to do. My best bet is to hopefully have Pex come in on it and go for Toxic. So what I'm going to try and do here is just do a little bit of damage with my Iron Crown. In hindsight, I probably should have gone for the Volt Switch. I don't know why I went for Psyshock. Maybe I thought I was going to do more damage with the Psyshock than what I initially ended up thinking I would do. But he reveals to have Protect. Now, since he revealed Protect, I'm not going to do anything to this thing. He could just Protect every other turn and eventually beat my Crown 1v1, or I'm thinking at this point he might go for the Earth Power to knock out my Iron Crown, so I'm going to bring in Toxapex as he goes for the Terra Starstorm. And this is not too bad because we should be able to live another one depending on his investment. I think if he was modest max pistol attack, he had like a very, very small chance to knock out Pex because of our investment. So I figured that, I think it was only like maybe 5%, right? It was like really, really low. So regardless though, I'm going to go and try and Toxic here. In hindsight though, that was definitely a bad play on my end. Even if we had lived the hit, recovering would have put us above 50% HP, so we guarantee live another hit regardless. So I really should have recovered here, or if anything, gone for the haze, but hindsight is 2020 obviously, so I can't do anything about it now. But we do tank the Terra Starstorm and we get the Toxic off, and this is huge because now this thing is going to be very manageable for us. I think he did go for Calm Mind, so he's Calm Mind, Rock Polish, Protect, Terra Starstorm. I don't know what the game dex was cooking here, but it's putting in work because this thing is actually a giant problem, man. This thing, okay, here he goes for Calm Mind. This thing is a giant problem. This thing is really, really problematic. It's boosting at +1, it's at +2 speed. Here, I don't even know if we're faster than it, but I brought in my Iron Crown more or less expecting him to go for the offensive move, or if we did live, then we can at least rack up Toxic damage, as I'm going to try and go for the Volt Switch here, as we do luckily outspeed him, which is really nice because now this puts us in a bit of a better scenario. Better scenario, sorry. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to get rid of. As much as I would like to keep Landorus around for the Intimidate for that Cinderace is in range of Quick Attack after Stealth Rock, so I really don't need Landorus at this point. So I sack off Landorus, he knocks us out with the Terra Starstorm. In theory, I guess I could maybe stall him out of Terra Starstorms. He only has 8, I believe he's already gone for 3. But I feel like that would take longer than me just trying to pivot in and out, wearing him down with the Toxic damage. So because Iron Crown outsped Terapagos after he went for the Rock Polish, what I can do now is bring in my Ogerpon. I can pop my Terra on Ogerpon. We get the speed boost, outspeeding Terapagos, and then we can get off some damage with the U-turn. My fear though was that maybe he goes for another Rock Polish, but at the same time, if he had gone for Rock Polish here, my Iron Crown would have not taken any damage, and then he takes an extra turn of Toxic. So I guess maybe things actually wouldn't have been that bad if he had gone for Rock Polish here. But at the time of the actual live battle, that's what was my biggest concern. But I guess looking back at it, it does make sense that he would not go for Rock Polish again. But I can bring in my Ogerpon here, and I'll be able to knock him out with the Terra boosted Stab Ivy Cudgel, regardless of if we crit or not. If he's max HP with some defense, he's still in range at 25%, and down goes Terapagos. That thing brought him back into this match after we tried to claw our way back to try and win this. I don't know what he was thinking with that set, but man, it really helped him out here. He definitely got some good traction from that. He got rid of our Landorus, he weakened our Toxapex, and he got rid of our Iron Crown, which really sucks as in comes the Hydrapple. This thing itself is still a giant problem as well, because at this point what he can do is either go for Nasty Plot, or he can go for the Fickle Beam. So I'm thinking, all right, I need to just U-turn here, get as much damage as I can, sack off my Toxapex, then bring in my Cyclozar and go from there. So I'm just going to bring in Pex here to sack it off, but we live the Fickle Beam, which is great because now I can go for the recover again, and then potentially go for Toxic, and then that way we'll be able to 1v1 Hydrapple, but of course he gets the all-out Fickle Beam and he knocks out Toxapex, and now things have become a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to bring in Cyclozar here. At this point, I'm pretty positive that a double-edged Life Orb and Stab will knock him out. So I'm going to go straight for that. I was checking calcs. I think if he was like max defense and max HP, he lived. I think. Or that might have been after Regenerator. Regardless though, he sacks off the Manaphy, which makes sense. He didn't potentially want to risk a roll, or he's not max defense and max HP. So down goes Manaphy, and now he does take here a little bit of time debating on what he wants to bring in. But after Stealth Rocks, Hydrapple is in range of Double Edge, unless he has max defense and max HP. But from the damage that he was doing to my Toxapex, I'm pretty sure he had some special attack investment. So regardless though, we're sitting in a good spot. We're sitting in a good spot. So I think this is where actually I was checking calcs, and he might have lived if he was max defense and max HP. I forgot that Manaphy was in the back earlier, so he stacked off Manaphy, he brings in Hydrapple, and regardless here, I think I have to go for Double Edge. I was debating on whether or not I want to Double Edge, or maybe I should go for U-turn, thinking that he's going to sack off Cinderace, that way Hydrapple can gain back more HP with Regenerator. So do I want to go for Double Edge, risk a potential roll? Do I want to go for U-turn, thinking maybe he'll switch out? Ultimately, I decide to go for the Double Edge. Double Edge gave me the best odds, in my opinion, to try and still win this battle. As I go for Double Edge, down goes the Hydrapple, and he does not know, ladies and gentlemen, he does not know that we have Quick Attack on our Cyclozar. So he probably thinks that this game is over. He thinks that his Cinderace is probably going to win this battle if he is Choice Scarf, because he does outspeed my Ogerpon naturally, and I'm sure he's running enough speed to outspeed Terra and Ogerpon. But we're going to bust out the Quick Attack, and for in here, our Cyclozar, an underrated mod, man. I 100% recommend you guys to use Cyclozar in a future draft stat. Don't just think it's just a little pivot with like Assault Vest or Heavy Duty Boots. Offensive Cyclozar really popped off here, and down goes the Cinderace, and that is the 2-0 victory for your Carolina Hacksters in week 2 of the PPL. So we are now sitting 1-1 +0 heading into week number 3. Unfortunately though, our week 3 opponent is arguably the best player in the season, so we're gonna see how we handle that. But if you guys did enjoy, leave a like, leave a comment. With that being said, I will see you all for week number 3. So thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.